Salutations. Second episode of Late Light Club. Plenty of things to talk about. Wide range from national news to international news, and it should be pretty cool. Should be a pretty cool hour. I think I got somebody lined up this weekend to co-host with me at some point this weekend. I don't know if it's gonna be Sunday or Monday. Monday's my weekend. I'm doing these from Tuesday to what's happening from Tuesday to Saturday. I'll be getting right, giving you at least an hour, and then I'll be doing, maybe 1 to 4 hours on the weekends for patreon.com/Taylor Durden. So, I guess it's time to get into it. And anybody, I'm going to leave it up publicly so people can watch it later anyway. I don't really have to wait. So that's the beauty of just dropping videos every day. So, the things that are going to affect people on a ground level that have happened today will probably just be, the main thing will be the Fed cutting the interest rates. Yeah, obviously the mark of the beast it's kind of here already. But the Fed has cut the interest rates today, and they said they're set to cut the interest rates soon in the near future. So I forget exactly. Let me see exactly where the rates were when the Trump administration started. I think it was somewhere between 6 and 7%. Let me ask Copilot. But they just recently brought the rates down to 4.75, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, it was 6.95% in January for a mortgage, for a fixed mortgage, and they just brought the rates down to 4.75. I mean, that's gonna just create more inflation. At some level, people are going to have lower interest rates on their loans. They're going to have more access to loans. It's going to be more cheap money. It's supposed to incentivize companies to hire more people because they can expand their businesses, because they can expand their credit. And if you know anything about Keynesian philosophy and fractional reserve banking and debt-based society, you know that you never really have money. You just expand your debt and your ability to have, it's all been a social credit score this whole time, our whole lives. But now it's just becoming more like of a digital footprint of a credit score. But it's kind of been that way for the duration of most people's lives. There's been at least some sort of digital filing in the last couple decades, at least, on their credit score somewhere. So, when it comes to an individual or a business, or a corporation, or a whole country, your credit rating is just allowing you to. If you have a good credit rating, it's allowing you to generate more debt, and having more debt gives you an opportunity to pay on the debt or service the debt, which allows you to improve your credit rating so that you can accrue more debt, and that allows you to leverage that debt. Essentially, you get a loan, and then now you're allowed to sell money, or essentially sell time, at a different fixed rate than what you had got it for. So the federal government gets their money from the Federal Reserve, a private bank, and the big banks and the banks around the country, they get loans from the Federal Reserve themselves, from the government, and they get it at a different interest rate than you would. So if your interest rate is 6.75 or 4.75, now the government or the big banks were getting their loans from the Fed, this quasi governmental institution, for a lower interest rate. So they're basically selling money or selling time in a sense. So if you're a small business owner or a business owner, you get a loan and now you're able to expand your business and pay your employees, take on more employees, and essentially you're buying their time or their debt with your debt. And that's what their salary is. So the interest rates have a big effect on just the flow of currency in the country and in the whole world. When there's, for instance, Japan had low interest loans, and people would get those low interest loans in Japan yen, and they would take those into the European market and buy up real estate, what have you, because they were getting money at a cheaper rate. And so that, once that stopped, it affected the whole global economy or worldwide economy. And when the American Fed changes the interest rates, it has ripples throughout the entire world. Not just in America. But the reason that they said that they were that they're getting rid of the interest rates or lowering the interest rates that they had, is because the job market is so poor right now. There's such less hiring going on right now because people can't expand. There's a fear to where people feel like they have to hold on to their money. They can't take on new debt to service. So they have to, just pretty much save and pause. And they can't so they can't take on more employees. And so in order to, again, this is not really any different from communism or, when you have a centralized bank that's regulating the commerce in your country and you're essentially stimulating your job market through you're already living in a fixed society, quasi-communist, quasi-fascistic society. So, when it comes to interest rates, when interest rates are brought down like this, there's going to be more money in the system because people now can afford the loans because, even a quarter of a percentage rate affects the whole system. So there'll be more money in the system, which just, contributes to inflation. So now there's less jobs right now. So they're like, okay, let's stimulate. The reason that they had the interest rates high is because all the money printing in 2020, 2021 with COVID and then the Green New Deal and all of that type of stuff. So from both administrations, you're getting screwed in the long run as far as inflation and, the power of your dollar. So at this point, they were trying to counter all of that money printing, but you really can't. You'd have to keep even if you kept inflation at 7% for 20 years, it would. The bottom is falling out of the economy. You're not creating any new innovation or any products at this point at a rate that can compete with the world markets. So all you can do is go to war, sell war, create wars, destroy nations so that they destabilize and make more war. And so they had to pretty much forfeit that control of the society, that inflation regulation, because they raised the rates to curb the inflation. So there would be less money in circulation. So the prices would stabilize. So, they were already bad. The gradual overall inflation that has occurred in our lifetime is still trumping a few years of high interest rates. It's not like it's going to really have that much of an effect. It's just to try to curb it a little bit, to try to pretty much calm civil unrest. And, we've reached a point where it's gotten so bad with the jobs market and the economy at large that they've pretty much forfeited that option to control the inflation, temporarily or into the future. And they're just like, all right, okay, we'll lower the rates again and allow more money to flow into the system because the jobs market is so bad, that, we have to do something to try to control and stimulate in some other way. It's just like when you just run out of levers to pull and push down or whatever, buttons to push to try to manufacture an economy, it's, you're just doing anything at this point. You're just trying to pretty much parlay and delay some of the symptoms of the collapse. So the interest rates are going to go. I mean, the interest rates have gone down, and they're going to go down again in the near future. So you can expect prices of everything to go up because there's more money will be cheaper. People will be able to get loans and have less interest. So the money will be cheaper. People will be in a position where they can hire more people. But I think there's so much debt accrued overall. I forget the number. Let me see what the average number of debt for individual. I think it was like 30,000 for Israelis and like 130,000 or something for Americans. Average debt per American. 152,000. So household debt is at 18.39 trillion. So you got another 20 trillion that's just been bloated government spending. Average debt per Israeli. $23,000. They're doing better than us, which is crazy. It's still terrible though to have all your citizens have 23,500 in debt. But so again, nobody's really in a surplus. They're all just servicing debt so that they can stay above water, keep up with the Joneses, and try to maintain a sense of comfort. And that's pretty much the whole world. And the whole world has gone through that, especially, like I said, since COVID. And we're just now feeling the effect. The inflation hit in the Biden regime, but a lot of that was from Trump. So, I mean, we're getting it on both ends. You're not really escaping what's coming down the road with this money system, and it's all by design to kind of herd people into the next phase of, digital ID and digital currency. So, that's what, it's kind of what the video was about. One of the things I found interesting in looking at today's news was that PayPal, ChatGPT, and OpenAI merged. Essentially, they created a partnership where they'll be working together for online sales and online purchases. So, you're really, again, you're dealing with the PayPal mafia, and everything is trying to appear separate. They're trying to appear like they're not in a totally vertically integrated fascistic state, but it's the same players, and they might just be wearing different jerseys, but they're all on the same team. And it's not that many AI companies, big AI companies. All the little ones are going to get bought up. It's just like if you play a professional sport and you play in a little league and you're really good, a big league is going to eventually pick you up. And that's how you have pretty much a blob of growing cancer of AI at this point, because all of the AI talent, quote unquote talent, is going into a small minority or small group of people, a small group of corporations that are all pretty much so close at the top together that they might as well be one thing. So I think that obviously, we're in for high inflation, some sort of crash, digital ID as a result of it. I mean, they have to do something to make people want this enslavement. It's the same way why people want SNAP benefits. They have to pose as if it's some sort of philanthropy or some sort of just cause that you can buy into, or something that you feel like should happen, kind of as a sleight of hand, so that you buy, that you consent to a system that is destroying you. And that's what's coming down the pipe. There's really no other way. I don't know exactly how they're going to manufacture it. And I don't know if it's like set in stone how they're going to do it, but I think like overall we can, we can debate some of the details of, but I think the overall thing is some calamity or crisis will be manufactured or capitalized on one way or another. I think it would probably be more so manufactured, and people will want digital ID or they'll want some sort of AI regulations because humans aren't to be trusted, or whether it be a cyber attack, what have you. And because the system is crashing, it's not like it, but it's being driven into the brick wall. It isn't, you could try to parlay and slow it down, but ultimately it's crashing. It's kind of like anything in the climate that we're in. Everything is kind of like rotating into a different, like shedding into a new skin. Like AIPAC, they no longer want to give money directly to the candidates, so now they want to do it through other third parties so that you don't know that the money's directly coming from AIPAC. So it's a constant, process of them deceiving and trying to make things seem separate or different. I mean, it's not much different than like, I didn't want to kind of go here this early in the conversation, but the situation in Sudan. Like in Sudan, you got the RSF and SAF, right? So you have the black Sudanese, supposedly black Sudanese, and then you have the Arab Sudanese, right? And supposedly it's like, ethnic cleansing or genocidal or what have you, right? And if you're looking at the situation, I mean, both leaders have met with Israel, and I think that they're both in such a depressed state, as a nation, as a country or an area, that they will take loans or support from anybody they can, because it was like from the inception of Israel till the Abraham Accords in 2020, Sudan didn't even recognize Israel as a country. But once Sudan fell into a civil war, both the leaders of the different factions of the civil war met with Netanyahu and Israeli officials to where they could try to, cozy up to Israel and get some weapons. And, obviously you got the Emirates, they are funding the RSF, but I think it's more so, it's not like they really care about who wins. They just want the resources, you know what I mean? Like the gold from Sudan, comes in the Emirates. So they more so want to keep the flow of that going. And it's not really about like who dies or any of that. Like it's, especially if it's you melanated people, they're really not interested. You know what I mean? Probably, they're more incentivized to not care probably. But, that's the situation where you have two different sides of a civil war, both being courted by Israel. And who knows who else is playing games, playing both sides of that war. And that's the same thing with every situation, the economic war that we have in this country, or the drug war, what have you. All of it is, they're playing both sides of it. Because, I mean, you look at the drug war, or you look at the issue in Venezuela, it's like, yeah, they want to, overturn Maduro or whatever. They want to, put pressure on the government down there. But it's not to liberate the people. It's to get what they want to get. It's like more about their bottom line. And, it's just been one, really one, destabilization campaign after another. And for the sake of the people that are eating beef and stuff like that, the great majority of the beef in this country, I feel like it does come from Brazil. And I feel like the guy or the company that owns the biggest beef producer or exporter in Brazil is a donor to Trump. So again, you have more, let's see, which Brazilian company produces the most beef for America? I'm pretty sure. JBS. Did JBS support Trump's campaign? Yeah, and I had seen Thomas Massey talking about this today, though, and he was just saying that, they gave a $5 million donation to his inaugural committee. Maybe it's U.S. subsidiary Pilgrim's Pride. So Pilgrim's Pride, a major U.S. poultry processor owned by Brazilian meatpacking giant JBS, gave Trump $5 million. And so, the beef prices going up or whatnot, it's all the same players, whoever you working with. I mean, it's a lot of hot air out of Trump trying to tell farmers to bring their beef prices down, while at the same time he's getting greased by a major meat packer in Brazil. And it's just another regime that has been, whether it's left or right, it doesn't really matter. They just want to get the things they want to get out of a country. So it's the same thing with people. And especially souls, they want to get what they want to get out of souls, and more the souls. You want to get the essence. You want to get what they create. You want to get their bloodline. You want to usurp their identity, and then programs. You want their energy. Their spirits. They provide energy. They provide spirit. So, it's very objective. That's why parasites win, because they're very objective in that sense. They're not really, they're just reactive. They're not going through so much deliberation, and I think that's where they do have some sort of advantage, whereas some people are weighing the decisions that they make, whereas the parasite is just I have to do what I have to do. And the same thing with the creator. And everybody else in the middle, the consumers that aren't creative and they're hosts for parasites, they are more so, just food and being weaponized against the creators and being just used as tools. So, people are, or human-like creatures are more so hey, this is about my bottom line. It's about what it's about the ends, not about the means. And that's pretty much what we're looking at as far as the economic system and the digital ID. The collapse of the system, the implementation of digital ID, CBDCs or something of that nature. It's not to get you to spend the money, the way they want or eat the thing. It's more so they want to get your focus. They want to get your focus on what they want it to be on. And they want to get, obviously your energy, your likeness, and your bloodline. So, that's, all that stuff is just different mechanisms or different tools to get to that end. So, I think that's pretty much it, I guess, for the financial sector. I don't really have as much details on the PayPal, ChatGPT, OpenAI merger. I just think that it's all the same people. They act like three different companies. It's just like the Prestige or something, like two brothers that just act like they wasn't brothers the whole time. And we're not. People just. I think it's just more so about identifying yourself, obviously, and then identifying the nature of yourself, and then identifying the nature of the beast system and the extensions of that system. But moving on, there was another Amazon outage today, a database failure that shut down Ring and Snapchat. And I don't know if this is and a bunch of other shit too, like Roblox and shit like that. The shit, but Ring and Snapchat, I know people are more familiar with that. But I think it's more so. It could just be rogue actors or just incompetence. It could simply be that. But at the same time, I think that with the environment that we're going into and that we're kind of already in, having database failures with something like Ring, and other apps as well. I think that is more so. First of all, I don't think they should even report that. I don't even think that should be public. If you're running a surveillance company, I mean, you should inform the people that are your consumers, but why would you make it public that it's down? Because that just only incentivizes criminals if they know that Ring is down and they know they can go run up in your shit. So I think that if they are stoking animosity among, on a civil level amongst people and creating a more broke environment where people are scavenging more. I mean, if you just have power outages, database failures where Ring is out, or you can't call 911, those type of things, because that has happened. I feel like supposedly some Chinese actors that did that and like on a small scale level, had whole cities unable to call 911 and stuff for small periods of time. I don't know if that's just beta testing for, having mass periods of that. Ultimately, they want to maintain control. So I don't think like any kind of power outage or rolling power outages, I don't think that would be for very long. I think it would be for enough days to exhaust people, but I don't think they want to have control. So it's the same thing kind of like with resets. Ultimately, it's like you obviously don't want to wipe everybody out. You don't want to off everybody. You just want to control them. So I think that there's only so much they can do at the same time. There's only so much pressure that can be applied because, the way things have to balance out. You don't want to push too hard because then, you lose even more control than you already have. So I think that we're constantly in a state of being pressured to make decisions within a paradigm that is an illusion, and we continue to play within that illusion. Like on a personal level, there's plenty of times where I could have just humbled up or went home or lived with my mom or like had certain tough conversations, and then I just didn't, and then things happened that was just bad, like that ultimately deteriorated my health and my life. So you think like this is happening on a grand scale to a lot of people. There's a lot of things people won't give up. A lot of people that won't have conversations they need to have. So, I think we're just really kind of flat-footed and caught out of position. So, this type of stuff is more so just like poking and prodding and getting people, I think, acclimated to these kind of outages. Because a week ago, in the Central Valley of California, Verizon went down. And I think Amazon had another failure as well, about a week or 10 days ago. And so I think it's just more beta testing and just seeing what people will do. And they can't do it. They can't shut all the phones off. They wouldn't do AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon all at the same time. It's got to just be like in sections. And so you have haves and have-nots. And then, some people will work together, and then most people probably won't. And, you'll have some chaos, and that's just the small scale stuff as far as like phones and stuff like that. But I do think with being having the ability to call 911 being blocked, or when everything is digital money, that shit freezing up for a minute, the Ring cameras going off, electric going off, rolling blackouts, that type of stuff, I feel like it's just going to come in phases. They can't do it all at once, so it's going to be a battle of attrition and endurance. So I don't think, it's going to be some sort of glamorous. I mean, they've been going, you got to look at different parts of the third world. And I mean by glamorous, like a glamorous apocalypse, where it's just like obvious to everyone, because war means confusion. So the further we go into this, the more confusion will ramp up, and so, yeah, I think that if you look at the third world, places like Ecuador, they they have rolling blackouts all the time. Different hours of the day, the electricity is going off for segments of society. And in California, sometimes they do that. And during the summer, power just be off from like 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. or something, and it just gets you used to that. If you grew up in that, then that's just normal to you. And then, the next generation doesn't really see so much of a problem. It's just normal. And, like I said, I was talking about it last night, with somebody asked me about the World Cup in LA, and obviously the Olympics as well. And I just think that they're going to have such a National Guard and military presence at, within the inner cities as these days go on, as this civil war, this, that's an oxymoron word. But yeah, this civil war ramps up as you have more. They got the National Guard case in the Supreme Court now over the 10th Amendment, whether federally they can send a National Guard into cities to deal with, the ICE arrests and what have you. And I just think that you're just going to have more local officials being at odds with the federal officials within the cities. And at some point, there's going to have to be some sort of exercise of power from the feds. I think, that's more so what we're looking at, that we're going to have some sort of overreach, and people will probably flip out, and then that'll cause a crackdown. And then you just have a greater presence of the National Guard and kind of like paramilitary on the streets. So, you just be like any third world country. It's not like anything new to people that's lived in other countries, get pulled over for no reason. You're kind of already in that. So they just want to make it more legal and more palatable. So that's kind of what I see, with the No Kings protest coming. And like I said, the SNAP benefits, I think it'll be like a more so on and off thing people go through from now until 2028. And then throughout the course of that, it's going to just be a lot of different pockets of society being pressured. I don't think that they would pressure the entire society all at once, and that's more so what I see happening in this process. So, yeah, I've seen some. It's been 60 years of SNAP. The whole thing's been an experiment. You know what I mean? But I had seen some decent news. I don't know however you want to call it. Texas is suing Tylenol, and I was like, man, I wonder how much Tylenol they give a circumcised baby, because you're not supposed to give babies Tylenol if they're under 6 months. And I know they were making that whole stink. RFK and Trump were saying like, oh, Tylenol causes the autism, trying to deflect from the vaccines. I do think at the same time it is a combination of things that exacerbates the problem. You know what I mean? So, yeah, vaccines definitely make it horrible. You know what I mean? But you also have to have like other environmental factors that prevent the body from healing, especially when it's young. It has a greater opportunity to heal. So I think it's a cadre of things. It's not like it's just one thing, because it would just be more people dodging that one thing, and we'd have better cognition in this place, that we call America. But they say they give babies after circumcision, they give them Tylenol every 4 to 6 hours for 2 or 3 days, something like that. And you're not supposed to have them at all the first 6 months of your life. So if they're getting it 8 times a day, every 6 to 8 times a day or whatever as a baby for 2-3 days, because their circumcision is so painful, you're already dissociating from the pain of the circumcision. So now you're getting, and who knows about how many vaccines you got, and then if you're hospital birth, all the dissociation that comes with that because of all the pain and the neglect being experienced with those endeavors. So Then you mix in Tylenol every 4 to 6 hours for a baby boy. I mean, you're just going to create more and more autistic children. So men, and it just decapitating society, because they're supposed to be the head of the family, the head of the house, the head of the world. So, I mean, you have a head, right? You know what I'm saying? No matter how you want to slice it, there is a head to a body, to a family, to a nation, to the world. There's going to be heads. You know what I mean? It's just like any body. So the male or the masculine is that. And when that is lobotomized like that and sexually perverted and mutilated like that, and then you get chemically attacked in all these other ways, and porn and whatnot. All of that is just creating a society. It's just creating a massive amount of debt. You gotta think about that, like a familial debt. If your dad got a circumcision because his dad got a circumcision, and then you got a circumcision because your dad, he said he got one, his dad got one, his dad's dad, and that's just a mass amount of debt. It's part of the debt-based society. The debt starts with the self, ultimately, and then it, manifests into other areas, be it money or what have you, emotional debt, all of that. It's just the debt, it just perpetuates, and it does kind of gain a sense of interest as you go through generations of the same kind of debt, and you're not servicing it, you're not paying on it, you're not and paying on it. I mean, like, you're not exhibiting the virtue or experiencing the virtue and the breath to transform the state of affairs, so yeah, that's kind of was good news at some level that Texas was suing. I don't know if it's going to be anything come of it. I mean, really, I mean, it might make the same Supreme Court, but that's, Tylenol is big pharma, and they're probably going to be in court for years. Just like I said before, like Trump, if they want to go after the supposed deep state, and they go after Brennan and Comey and Clapper and Bolton and all of that, they're going to be in litigation. They're going to be in and out of court by the time it comes time for them to get sentenced, Trump will be leaving, and the next president will come in and just pardon them. So it's like, it's all theater, or they die because they're old. You know what I'm saying? But like Bolton, I wouldn't be surprised if he died, if he got convicted. But I mean, I think ultimately, like, this is the bullshit they play. Like, Trump got hit up, and then he went through the whole court thing, and it just, what you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, this is all theater. They're not really nothing's ever gonna really come of it. Like Kash Patel today, he ended the investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder. The foreign intelligence investigation. Kash Patel, head of the FBI, he was like the puppet head of the FBI. He was like, we're no longer investigating if this murder had anything to do with foreign intelligence, right? Basically, stopping the ability for people to use funds and time and other resources and agents to investigate Israel ultimately, or different factions that it might not be Israeli directly, but they might just be Zionists or loyalists to Israel. So today they stopped that investigation, and there's a guy named Joe Kent. I forget his role in the administration, but he was like, why would you stop this investigation? And so him and Patel were supposedly beefing. I don't know how much of theater that was, but supposedly what came of it, Kash Patel was like, if you keep asking these questions or you try to get them to release the footage, we might not be able to convict Robinson. So ultimately, I feel like if you had a guy on camera doing something, and you probably have multiple angles of it, and then you probably have multiple angles of the escape, among other evidence, it doesn't really matter if certain shit leaks or whatever. You probably still gonna win. It's all gonna come out in court, and you're probably still gonna win the case. So I mean, The only reason I would think that he was, to have a problem with releasing the information or releasing the footage is because it proves that he didn't take that shot, because otherwise, why would you have any issue with releasing that kind of information? So I think that's been the greatest evidence kind of so far. I mean, I know some people point to the lapel mic or whatever. Some people, say it's the exit wound, right? I know some people say a bunch of other things, I'm not here to judge the different theories, but I think we all just don't trust the official narrative, and, we can ask as many questions as we like to. So it is what it is. But I think as far as evidence of what's about to happen, that kind of lets you know that this whole trial is going to be a crock, so how much of it is theater? That's what you kind of have to ask yourself. Like, how deep is the theater? And, yeah, so that's kind of it, man. I was looking into, like I put in the last episode, I was talking about, the 200 missing years of history from 1540 to 1740, but it's even longer than that. It's 236 years of history, because they didn't go back to the Grand Canyon until 1776. And I mean, if there's no Europeans going to the Grand Canyon from 1540 to 1776, what happened in that time? Obviously, we know 1776 is the slave uprising, also known as the American Revolution. So what made them say, hey, let's amidst this, let's get on out of here. Let's go to I think it was the Spanish though. But ultimately it's like, that doesn't make sense either. Because the story is, in 1540, the Spanish went to the Grand Canyon and they were like, oh, there's nothing here. It's hard to get down to, hard to cross. And there's no point in coming there. So I don't know why they would just be like, all right, 236 years later, they're going to go back. And I think a pastor was supposedly leading the expedition, which again, a lot of it doesn't make sense, but on some level, I guess it does. Evangelical means a victory at war. So at some level, I guess it does make sense, but when you're trying to explain this to other people, it does not make any fucking sense. You know what I mean? And so another history thing that I stumbled into today without really thinking about it was the only statue of Caesar was discovered in 1825 underneath probably mud flood. They excavated in Italy, and it was Napoleon Bonaparte's brother, Lucien Bonaparte. 1825, they find I think that's like right after the Napoleon Wars, or it might be at the tail end. But they're in Italy, right? And they find this only statue, this bust of Caesar, and this is what they're generating, the whole idea and imagery in Hollywood of who Caesar was or who he is. And that's 1825, but that bust isn't adopted by the mainstream until 1940. And when it comes to art, I mean, I feel like art is so important because it tells a story without having to, there's words involved basically with your own description in your head, but you don't need to have the shit explained to you. If you see a statue of, if like you had the Sphinx, you saw the Sphinx and the nose wasn't cut off and you saw what the real features of this person was, you wouldn't have any debate on what who these type of people are. You know what I mean? Like, it would be there. It'd just be like, boom, okay, this type of person built this. This is what they look like or whatever, right? Wouldn't be no question. But when it comes to art, it's just there's so many lies involved, and then that's where I feel like the French, they have between the Norman invasion and the Napoleonic Wars, where they just went around, and then the French in general taking over, colonizing different areas, they went around just taking art from all over the world, and it allowed them to alter the timeline and just say, like, this was from this year, this is who this painting was. They can whitewash it, they could do whatever, they could hide paintings, they could destroy paint. I don't think they probably didn't do too much destroying, because ultimately it's kind of like leverage to have it one way or another. And that's why I feel like the Louvre is what it is. It's in France, and you have all this artwork from around the world. Like, why is it located in France? Why do they have such a monopoly? If the Mona Lisa was made by an Italian, why isn't it in Italy? There's plenty of museums in Italy with amazing art. Why is the Mona Lisa, and why is the Mona Lisa even famous? And most people don't even really realize, like, the Mona Lisa didn't become famous until it was stolen. So it got stolen and then supposedly got recovered. They got it back from the thieves. And that's what gave it, like, notoriety. Like, look, they found it. Look at this. You know what I mean? And I think in that process, it was probably replaced with a fake, if it wasn't already fake to begin with. And they just had a recent stealing of jewelry, French royalty jewelry or whatever, in the Louvre recently. And supposedly they got it back. And it made the price or the value of that shit go up. I'm just wondering, like, how real is this shit, man? It's just like kind of like the moon rock that they gave to the Netherlands or whatever. They found out it was petrified wood. Like, how do we even know, like, this is just not like, the Mona Lisa isn't just made from a highly advanced printer that the commoners don't know about. And that's why you can't really get up close on it. And maybe it just was completely stolen long ago. And they just duplicate it, every so often to make it look like it's the same age or whatever. But I think in that process of controlling the art, you get to determine the timeline, Like, look at this art from this time. And then you get idiots. I see so many idiots that talk about, look at Egyptian art. It stayed the same it's static for 10,000 years. The Egyptian art stayed the same. I'm like, that's because this period wasn't as long as they say it was. It wasn't 10,000 years. You know what I mean? Like, this, whatever art you're looking at, it's not, it's from the same phase. It's not like it stretched across thousands of years like they make it. You know what I mean? And, just different art in general. This shit don't add up. Like, the quality of art, the way it went up and down, at times where there should have been more modernity based on other things, based on that, architecture and different things. Like, how did the architecture get better, but then the art got worse? And different examples of, portraits and stuff. Doesn't make sense. And I just think that's kind of one of the biggest cornerstones of the psyop of the world we live in, and how the French have a monopoly on artifacts, the art of facts. They can control the timeline through that, and when I was young, my mom always said the French was the language of money. And I never really got it until, I traveled Europe, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right, because a third of Switzerland is French. And you got 5 out of the 7 gold refineries on Earth is in Switzerland. And Geneva is the headquarters for the UN and the WHO, and a bunch of other multinational corporations are centered. It's CERN, where the internet was supposedly created, is in French Switzerland. So, like, it's in Geneva, outside of Geneva. So I didn't really get it till later, and then now you look at it, France itself has one of the highest populations of tiny hat people. Yeah, francs, they spend Swiss francs. That's their money in Switzerland is a franc. But again, it's like why it's the same bloodline. You got the Francos of Spain. You had the king of Spain was a Franco. You have Francos. There's Francos in Italy. People with the last name Franco in Italy. Obviously the Franks are the French, and then you have whether you want to call it the Visigoths, because it's like the different Goths, right? The West Goths and the East Goths. I forget which one is with Ostrogoths. I think is the Eastern Goth, and the Visigoth is the Wistigoth. And it's all the Franks or the Frankists, and then people say like the Frankists is the real Jews that control everything or whatever, and the Merovingian bloodline or whatever, and all that shit. I mean, it's a lot of the same graphs that have, through hybridization and just overall usurpation of language and squatting in an area, they can just say like, I'm Italian, I'm French, because Napoleon is the emperor of France and he's supposedly Italian. It doesn't really make sense, just like the king of Sicily was also the king of Swabia, which is Germany. It was at the same time. So, I mean, a lot of this shit, it's a lot of crossing with the graphs. A lot of the recessives were spreading, by different means. So, like, whether they be French, Italian, German, Portuguese, Spanish, a lot of it is the same bloodline, And then, the word for Germany and Yiddish is Ashkenaz, which is wild, when you think about it. Like, why would they even identify it as that? That's kind of neither here nor there. I mean, you call it Caesars of Rome, could be the Khazars or the Kaisers. We're going into a completely manufactured history, and I think that's why the art is so important. To have if we could have all the real art being expressed, we would have a totally different perception of history, of reality, and if the first depiction of Caesar was found in 1825 and was dug up, where does dirt come from? For one, it had to be something catastrophic to just bury everything like that, and then there's only one left, and it was supposedly made during his lifetime, and then it wasn't recognized until 1940. So, I mean, it's just a completely manufactured history, I mean, there's some points, I guess, that are integral points, inflection points maybe, where that you can't really say things didn't happen, like whether it be, Cortez landing in Florida or whatever, like certain things, like they did happen, but it's just like, how did they happen? There's so much lies around it. And some things just didn't happen at all. So, I mean, whole centuries did not happen at all. There's a condensation of history there. And you just wonder, where we're really at. How, like, in the cycle, if we're going through the sixth major reset, maybe that's what we're in right now, or what, when they can control time through controlling the art, people kind of really don't know. But I guess the last thing in news for today that I had found, that I had seen, because this is kind of like a slow news day, really wasn't much going on, just people continually talking about the SNAP benefits, there was more bombings in Gaza today, and obviously 2,000 people got killed in 48 hours in Sudan, So that was kind of they killed like 465 people in a hospital. And it was, I think, 2,000 people overall in 48 hours in Sudan. But, I mean, the conflicts in Africa are crazy, man, because, my perspective on it is that nobody should be there. People should visit. No one should be living there. And, but you got so many people in Asia that are not supposed to be there. And that's the rightful home of a lot of the so-called Africans today. So it's like, where, how are we going to even sort this out? Only thing that could sort this out is some sort of reset, or some type of natural, fire and brimstone, plasma rain, what have you. However, you take your best guess. This is not gonna get reset by human volition. If you got somebody saying, yeah, let's have a ceasefire, and then they bomb you, kill 104 people, and dozens of them are children, and they just tell you like, oh yeah, now the ceasefire is back on. I mean, bro, it's just like saying like, no take backs, no take backs. You know what I mean? It's like, we can't remedy this. All you can do is really live your own personal life, and grow your own food, build your own house, and have really organic human interactions. Yeah, I was looking into because I was thinking about birds, right? Because out here there's a lot of raptors, and so you got a lot, you got owls and shit, and there's always this one owl that hangs out in the trees, and he's big as shit. You know what I mean? Like if I was small, if I was Asian, I might be afraid of that motherfucker, man. He's a big ass fucking owl, and I just got me thinking like, where are the birds all going? Because sometimes at night when it's like right before the shit gets dark, I see the quail. I hear the quail. I be watching the quail like a motherfucker, like, and it's crazy because like living in the mountains, I'm in the Facebook groups up here, and like people that have been up here for multiple decades. I just be looking at their comments. I don't really comment much, you know what I mean? Because I ain't been up here long enough, but I see people say shit like, man, there's so much of this. There's so many turkeys this year. There's so much quail. And then I look at like an old head comment like, yeah, every 7 years you get a wetter season, and that produces more seeds, and then you get more quail, more turkey. So then that attracts more coyote, more bobcats, more mountain lions. And like, it's just crazy how the balance of things is. Like, it's such a grand balance. There's a really bad storm in 2023. And I was talking to a guy that been here for decades, and he was like, yeah, this happens like every 20 years or so. You get one of these. And I'm just like, damn, that's crazy. Like how, it's just kind of built into the system. It's like the resets are just built in. And so anyway, I was looking at this owl, and it's a thing too, like watching birds. It's like, wow, because birds like, they really at different levels, and they enjoy the level that they're at, based on their design. It's like they don't really want to fly higher than that level. They'll get eaten by hawks and bigger raptors. So like, sometimes I see the quail make a run for it. They'll try to run across the canyon to make it to the other side, because there's, maybe somebody knows enough that there ain't no falcons around. But generally speaking, they fly below the trees, the quail. And I be hearing the quail, and I be hearing this owl, and I be like, man, I wonder how much this owl be getting these bitches when they sleep, because he just be up. And like, I was like, man, dude, because I never really thought about it. I was like, man, do birds dream? Do birds have a pineal gland? And then it was saying that birds do have a pineal gland, and it's an avian type of pineal gland, and it's more of like a autonomous sensory organ. So it's like kind of like a nose. You know what I mean? Like, they kind of like smell the future. I'd be like, damn, that's wild. Like, like I was saying, you smell emotion through, chemo signals. I'm like, damn. The pineal is an eye, that's transmitting light or vibration in the light spectrum. So since you can dream through it, you're experiencing, eternity through it, or the past or the future or whatever, memories and stuff. It's like smelling the future. Ultimately, you hear in the future, and that's like ultimately like what intuition is. And empathy and stuff and feeling things coming. And yeah, I don't know. I just was looking into that. I was just like, man, do birds have pineal glands? And it took me down this whole Wikipedia rabbit hole. And because they were saying that birds process emotions in their dreams, just like people. And they recite songs. It's just like people. It's like, wow, like how that is. Because people create songs in their dreams and stuff like that all the time. And it's like, they supposedly they monitor them enough to know that they make plans and they like plan to sing songs and they start reciting songs and creating new songs in the dreams. And I mean, it's like kind of like just like watching my dog's dream. And I see him going through what they go through. But yeah, man, I guess a bit of a light news day. I'll come back tomorrow, see what we got. And that's it. I don't really want to overdo it. If we got some questions, we got a few questions here, a few comments. I'll go through that and call it a day. I just want to put out an hour every day and just touch on what's in the world a little bit and not go too crazy and be like burnt out. You know what I mean? Because I feel like I be doing them 3-4 hour joints. I be burnt out. Like, I don't want to talk to y'all again until next week or something. No, was y'all talking to each other? There's a lot of comments here. Yeah, and I seen China went to South Korea today, and he was lying and shit, saying that the economy's good and all of that or whatever. And I think he's heavily insulated at the same time. He might actually believe that dumb shit. I seen him say, like, look, the stock market's up. I'm like, bro, that don't count. That shit is all propped up by the military-industrial complex. Nah, maybe you could. I'll look into discharging debts and talk about it the next time. Oh, you talking about like a kind of a like cashing in on your bond, on your sovereignty? I'm familiar with that. No, man, I was trying to play the game. I was heavily entrenched in the game. I didn't. Somebody said, "Did you drop out the game entirely yourself, bro? Debanked, got off grid, and said F playing the game, bro." I was heavily in the game, man. You know what I mean? Like, I was monetized by YouTube. I was playing Division I football. I was heavily in the rat race. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to help my brother get into entertainment, making movies, stuff like that. And I was heavily in the vanity and the glitter of the game. You know what I mean? But I got debanked. I don't know why I got debanked, because again, I had this conversation with somebody when I was here, I was like, man, I was getting money, but I couldn't have been the biggest fish. I don't know. I don't know why they debanked me. You know what I mean? Because I don't know if it was the timing of it. It's just like I got deleted on Instagram because I was talking about shit that now you talk about and it's just regular. You know what I mean? A lot of it. And so I don't know if it was just the timing, man. I don't know. Or if it's just like the design, the way that things are. Maybe it's because I'm a program and I'm part of, the Matrix, and the Matrix is like, let's curtail this program. Let's fucking put this program, let's like deactivate that bitch for a minute. You know what I mean? Like slow it down. Not let it update and upgrade for a minute. Because I had a totally different mindset. It's funny. Like, I don't know how long I thought it would last. I wasn't in the beginning of it. I feel like I didn't really get traction online for like, I had spurts of traction, and then I would get curtailed so quickly that it was just like demoralizing. And then 2020, I really started to gain traction. I would say like late 2019, from May 2019 onward. The whole 2019, because I was getting Audra popping. I was putting the battery in her back. And so I was getting like residual response from that, like via her penetration of of social media, you know. And by 2020, I was really getting like constant traction, constant consultation, constant people paying me for podcasts, constant people buying my books. I wake up every day to someone wanting the books. And then I got deleted, and it's almost like being killed. You know, people didn't, I don't know. Like, I have watched videos of people that were great videos back in the day, and I can't find that shit no more. Like, I'm talking about 07. 06, 07, 08 YouTube stuff I was watching. And there was some great videos about Europe being black and all of that type of stuff. And I don't know where that content is. And I can't even search for it. It might still be there. I just can't even find it if it is there, or maybe they got deleted. It's like almost like they got killed digitally. I was like a digital martyr. So I don't really know, man. I don't know if it's just the timing or if it's just the design of things, or if it's like protection, part of design, I guess, like protecting me from getting too big for my bridges because I didn't know enough, and I would have fell harder or something. I don't know. I don't really get caught up in rationalizing it too much because it is what it is, right? You know what I mean? I'd be, well, maybe if I was oblivious, and if I would have got on then, and I would have been widespread then I would have been vulnerable to certain questions and debates and mistakes that would have made me, put me in a worse situation than I am now. That's crazy projection and mad fucking mental hula hoops to go through to get to that point. You know what I mean? How do I really know it? But it's crazy projection. So on a personal level, I remember writing or drawing because I could draw well. My mom was an art major and she taught me some. And so I could draw pretty well. And I remember drawing a cabin next to a stream and being like, I want that. And then life kind of put me in a position to be able to get that. And that's kind of where I've been. That's where I've experienced my presence the most. And at different times, I guess I got scared of myself and went away from this place, got away from myself. And it's like, even if I leave, like, I'm here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going other places, but I'm not really there. Like, I'm actually here in this place. So this is where I'm most me, I think. And, I think that certain things are just objective, Like, I think some people feel like they need so much more. And it might be true for them or their perspective or what they've experienced, Like, for me, I think, like, I got certain things and I was like, I don't really need the drive. I got pacified, I didn't really, what I mean? It showed me more of what I had to work on, facing the restrictions in my life, It showed me, like, how much I avoid stuff. Because I could have built a house, the first year or two. I just had no confidence. And even though I did have enough knowledge, I could have built a crib, But I just had no confidence. I had no patience and wasted a lot of time. I mean, think about it. I could have probably had like several orchards by now. I've been here for 15 years. I probably could. Who knows what I could have had if I would have had the patience and the confidence when I had the money, where that would have took me, and it is what it is. I don't know. How would I ever know? I just know that, like, when I got into the situation, like, I think I just reached a certain state of security. I felt like I was taken care of in some ways. I had my brotherhood with my brother, and I had people I was working with. And I felt like it, I always could find a way, Like, I felt like there was always some type of way to make it through, like, that would show itself if I don't see it now. Or I already knew, and I just was like, this shit's gonna be tough, but I already know what I gotta do. Like, I was working on something today, putting extra support in in the framework of the new room or the cabin. And I was like, you know, it all worked out. Everything worked. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. I saw that and executed that, and that shit was it. Now I did what I thought and logically put together was what needed to happen, and then this shit happened, and it was like, damn, I know how to do this. Like, I don't have to really. It's kind of like I don't have to think. I'm just responding to reality, and so like I knew that I couldn't do what I was doing forever. You know, I knew that I was going to have to transition into something else. And I was working towards it, but I thought I had more time. You know, I didn't think it would be that fast. I thought I had more time. I thought I had more time with my cousin because I didn't think time would. I didn't think his time was that short. I knew and I had a sense of urgency, but I didn't know. You know, he only had 23, 24 years with us. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't know. And I took shit for granted. And it is what it is. I don't know how I would treat time if them things didn't happen. I think that you can live and experience health and wellness and strength with your kindred, you know, your kindred folks. And that can show you how to appreciate time as well. You don't have to do damage or have loss in that respect. Discipline in itself brings a forfeiting of illusion or loss of illusion or loss of pleasures. So you experience loss in that way. So I think if you make the right steps, that's the way you experience loss. And then it's just a totally different appreciation once you find a way to, like, you know, appreciate the little things and the time that you do have and the people that you do have and opportunities you do have. If you arrive at that based off of quality decisions, I think it's different. I think it hits totally different than if you just if it takes tragedy to get you there. You know, I think it's a lot less taxing. It's like, we're going to get there one way or another. Life's like, you're going to get there, but you get a choice of which way you want to take to get there. And I thought I had more time. I didn't think they'll pull the rug from out so fast. You know, I only had 3 years of having a bank account. You know, from 18 to 21, I had a bank account. And then they were just like, never again. You know, and then it took some chick wanting to fuck me at Wells Fargo that gave me like 6 months of having a bank account again. And then they shut me down again. I don't know what she did. She must have pulled some strings wanting to fuck me. I don't know. I had a girl at the time. If I didn't, I'd probably still have a bank account. But maybe it's just the way it's supposed to be. Again, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I didn't have a girl at the time. Not necessarily just because of that, but for a multitude of reasons. But yeah, wasted time with that, you know. I thought like, oh, I could just do this and focus on this or whatever. But objectively, I've reached certain lessons that, like, life was like, I know what you know. You the next challenge is what's tailored for you. You're not about to get somebody else's challenge. You're getting what's supposed to come down the pipe for you. So that's kind of what happened to me. You know what I mean? I made certain choices. You know, I let go of a full scholarship and started moving weight, and I was already in dabbling, but I was like trying to play both sides, and you know, I was watching Dr. Sebi videos, Dr. Africa videos instead of watching film and doing film study for games and stuff. Like, it was. My focus was in other places. You had to pick a life, you know, and then I think I had already picked the life, and life was sorting itself based on my response. And I was just trying to hold on to some shit that never was going to happen anyway, and so yeah, ultimately I think I did pick like, yeah, I'm going to go off grid. I'm going to say fuck this shit and everything. But it was a long time ago, man. We're talking about the end of 2009. By that point, I had known that I didn't want to be in society in that respect, in that regard. I wanted to have more control over my people's access to me and my exposure to the grid. So, yeah, there was no way. There was no way I could play myself, like I did as long as I could, but it was not. You reach a point where it's like the pain gets too strong, or you're gonna die. Your life gets threatened, or people around you life end, or their life gets threatened, or your freedom gets threatened, and you're just like, no, there's no point. There's no point in risking this stuff. This shit is way too precious, and yeah, that's it, man. I mean, I don't know. I don't see me ever having any option to do certain shit. Life just the cookie don't be crumbling that way, man. I made a decision a long time ago. It's crazy that the first 20 years of my life probably determined the rest of it. Ultimately. Like if I stay myself, you know what I mean? Like either way, it's like I learned a lot and made decisions that was in alignment with myself, and it was like I experienced myself as a result of that more and more, and then it made it harder and harder to go against myself. So then, I don't know. It might not be that way for other people. It might not be the first 20 years for other people, but for me, I experienced so much of myself by that point. There is no going back. There's no going back to just being a football player, going to school and trying to go to NFL or get a good paying job or whatever. Like life just kind of crafted me into a tool. Me and life worked together to craft me into a different kind of tool that can only be used for different kind of, things. And, I think life just kind of taught me like when to stay in the toolbox and when is my time to be utilized for life itself. Yeah, man. When it comes to the sovereignty thing, man, check out what's his name, Jordan Maxwell. I want to say that's his name. Yeah, Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell got some pretty good information on it, man. Bro, if you just want to have conversations about basic sovereignty and conspiracy stuff, bro, I mean, there's plenty of outlets for that. Yeah, man. Uniform Commercial Code, man. We know maritime law. Yeah, you're born. You're in your mother's water. Yeah, I get it. You're from. You're dealing with maritime law. Oh, my goodness, man. You gotta think about it. Like a lot of the middle class itself was clones or hybrid people, half clone, half soul, that was just basically used as a buffer between the rich and the poor, the souls and the programs, the complete programs. You know what I mean? Just the same way as like the rich are going to use AI as a buffer, full blown AI. You got basically like organic half AI people, people that's like half graph clone, half soul or what have you. They were like a buffer for a long time between the full bred clones and the souls, the full bred souls. And so now you've reached a point where this shit has evolved, but kind of stayed the same because there's less souls. You know, there's more fragmented bodies. You know, and there's a mass of parasites, a mass of clones. You know what I mean? So and then you have a small amount of like I guess purebred clones. They're using their status to upload, to use the middle class as like a vector point to harvest, to create, to upload this AI, to create another buffer. You know, there's buffers. You know what I mean? You need a middle class to buffer yourself from the poor. You can't just have rich living directly next to poor like that. You have to have a buffer. And with AI is just the next buffer. If somebody can give you your sovereignty, they can take it away. Who do you fucking declare it to? You create bondage with your decisions. So if you are if you're autotrophic, you're producing your own food, your own home, what have you. I mean, yeah, you want to do the paperwork right on things, but like, if somebody can give you sovereignty, they can take it away. It's all based on your decisions. Humanity is a buffer between man, original people, and mankind. That's the middle class, really, humanity. I mean, what good is a generator, man? Really, you still need to get petrol if you're going to have a generator. You would need to have a propane generator that with some sort of converter in it that you can turn the methane from like a methane farm, or like a biogas kit that you create, from your compost. You collect, harvest the methane, then you got to convert it into where you have some sort of converter for your propane generator, so where it don't run hard and destroy the fucking engine, so that you can get power and heat off of that. That'd be the only way. Most people are not taking those steps, man. Most people aren't cutting wood to manually heat themselves. You think about that. Yeah, I have no fucking credit, bro. I have nothing. I have no credit. I haven't checked my credit score because I applied for a Home Depot credit card recently that got rejected. You know what I mean? And they'll never give me it. I've never had a proof of income. It's crazy because people be wanting to hire me, but I have no work history. And you know what I mean? So every time I've ever tried to get a job, they're like, "What's your work history?" And I'm like, "Yo, I don't have that. I work for myself." And so I never get hired. You know? Yeah, one time when I was in Milan, I had like the most clearest astral projection experience that I've ever had. Yeah. Chase Bank was the first one to debank me, and they gave me no explanation. They wouldn't even let me withdraw my money that day. It took me like a week, and they mailed me a check. Yeah, bro. I mean, the thing is, right? I don't know if it's because I'm so crippled. Like, my reach is so crippled. I don't know. You know what I mean? And I just can't reach a new audience anymore. I don't know, because I've just been hemmed up at this level for like 3-4 years now. Probably 4 years now. Going on probably 4 years at the 5,500, 53 to 5,700 level on this. And been at like 27,000 on YouTube for like 10 years or some shit. But I don't know if it's, I mean, YouTube kind of smoked me with the little bell thing, you know what I mean? Because mad people just don't get my notifications. They added that purposefully to where people that subscribe to me, you know, they can't find my shit because they didn't, you know, they subscribed to me before the little bell notification feature came out. So they don't get my notifications when I upload. And if I change my name, so they don't know. They're still subscribed to me, but they don't know. We have no connection. It's like a leg that is numb. But I was saying though, like, I don't really get much support from the base that I do have though. You know what I mean? To where the miracles that happen to me and the people that help me to this day, it really be setting this shit straight to where I feel like if I was to get cut off from social media again, or never use the internet again, or had to deal with just people in front of me, I wouldn't have any panic or anything like that. At the time in 2020, you know, I was still getting high, you know, fresh off of Lyme disease, fresh off of spinal surgery. My dog had cancer. I was an emotional wreck, you know what I mean? And then my Instagram got deleted. I was like, damn, how the fuck am I going to deal with all of this? You know, now I'm in a place where I'm like, if I get deleted, I get deleted. It don't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have any, I'm not beholden to the audience. I think that's a lot of the times people get beholden to the audience and then they feel like they got to produce for the audience instead of producing for themselves, and then letting the audience, you know, be the audience, and, you know, having their free will to judge it, ignore it, accept it, praise it, and whatever. And you just have no feeling about how they feel about it. You know, you just accept it. You're just doing it for what you're experiencing inside yourself, you know. But since I don't get much support, I don't stay beholden to. Since I don't get much support, it allows me to be like, well, fuck it. Fuck the audience. You know what I mean? And it allows me to stay more true, I feel like, to the audience at the same time, because I don't get much support from the audience. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if, you know, I don't want to attack the audience. I don't know if it's just because people are cheap, or they just don't see value in me, or they just use me as mental masturbation or whatever. But ultimately, I'm in a place in my life where I don't need to do this. And that's kind of where it started. You know, when I was just heavy in the weed and everything, like moving it, I didn't need to do this. I just wanted to share it. You know, I was like, damn, I know this shit. I'm traveling around the world. I'm experiencing shit most people don't. I want to share this shit because people just don't get to see this shit. And I have the time and the money to just do this shit and not have to, I don't have to answer to nobody. I don't, you know what I mean? It's not like I need this to be politically correct or have like a certain appearance. I can just talk this shit and then the people get it. And then, you know, whoever gets it, they get it. And it just feels more satisfying because I didn't have to put on an act to do it, you know. So I think that, you know, that's the best part of my content. I think that's the best part of it as on my end of experiencing it, and then probably for other people, you know, because ultimately I could go away tomorrow and it wouldn't change. I don't get really any support from this. So like, it's the same thing as if I didn't do this at all. It's the same, you know. I basically do this for nothing at this point in my life. It's not like I'm meeting people that's about to come live with me off grid and establish anything like that that's like really intimate or significant. You know what I mean? It's not like people are supporting me financially from this. You know, it's you know, I think at different times I took it as like the people watching me is on some fuck you shit to me. You know what I mean? But at this point, I'm just like, whatever. I mean, they could be that way if they want. You know what I mean? If I went away tomorrow, it would be the same as if I post every day or if I don't post at all. It's the same. You know what I mean? Like, if I didn't post, I would just journal more. I think that'd be the difference. Yeah, I'm in an Instagram bubble for sure, and YouTube bubble, and Facebook is the only one I'm growing in, which is weird. But I'm not on the algorithm, so I continually grab followers on Facebook. But when I talk to people, they be like, "Yo, I follow you. I just friended you. Yo, I never see your shit." So I'm like, "That's crazy." I'm still accruing followers from having enough of human infrastructure, people I actually grew up with and stuff, share my stuff. It reaches enough accounts to where I get new followers, and then they might see my shit for like a week or something, and then they repost some shit or whatever, and then I disappear off the face of the earth to them again. You know, so at some level, like, you know, I can't be mad at the people. You know, 5 hours of sleep has probably been the best. You know what I mean? Or like 4 hours and an hour nap somewhere in the day, from my experience. In Milan, I had a really good experience of astral projection because I was fasting for a couple of days because I was drinking. To be totally real with you, I was drinking in Venice, Italy, and then I was like, yo, I was like 2-3 days. I was like, yo, I can't eat nothing. I can't stomach nothing. It was such a bad hangover. I was like, I can't. You know, I gotta just fast. And I stayed in a hotel in Milan, and it was just a crazy ass experience. It was mad vivid. I was like, damn, it felt like I just got shot out of my body. Yeah, man, false balance is a pretty. I mean, when I look back at some of the stuff that I posted, I'm like, man, this is definitely from the source of all sources. You know what I mean? Like 50 said, like, when you see my perfection, you see God. When you see my imperfections, you see me. You think a pure original man is ever going to spawn in again, whether it is before or after the next reset? I think there always has to be a few. There always is some holding it down somewhere. You know, it's just like they have to be camouflaged. It's a war. Hey, bro, your choice was impactful towards the collective for sure. Thanks, man. You ever thought of making comedy skits? Feel like you got mad jokes? Yeah, man, I got so many jokes, man. My health is suffering because I can't be around my brother and my sister. I wish we could be together. You know what I mean? Well, wishing ain't gonna do nothing, but if I could be around them more, if we could all be together and have some sort of balance in that and in production, we'd have way more impact. I think it's by design that we're separated. And if at any point in time, I hope it don't take death to bring us together, but if we could come together, me and my brother, and then my sister as well. Me and my brother have the content. My sister has the eye to capture it. And I think that would be really significant stuff, man. Really good entertainment, and it'll also be helpful. The Bitcoin Mafia versus AI Mob and Digital ID EMP. I don't know, man. At the top, they're probably so close at the top, it's all one creature. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, I think I'm funny too. You know what I mean? I think I'm like somewhat of an arbiter of funny. And I think it would be great, you know, to get on stage again and do stand-up. If shit is good in like January, February, early March, I wanna be in Phoenix so I can do some more stand up. And that'd be cool. Skip winter again. I've been doing it the last couple winters, just skipping winter in Phoenix. It's been nice. You know, it has its downsides, but what doesn't? You know. So yeah, man. Thank you guys for kicking it with me again tonight, and have a good night or a good morning wherever you are. Guten Morgen, and yeah. So I'll be back tomorrow. Shit, it won't be that long. You could ask these questions in 24 hours or less than 20, like 22 hours or something. We'll talk again. So is accumulating wealth even on the list of goals per se at this point, bro? Or as if it's... I think, again, it's like your ideas, man. You need to have a $1 million idea of something you want to execute like that. You got to think of it like, I don't really have a big family. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a lot of people that I need to support, you know what I mean? Like, you feel like a lot of these dudes that's in the NBA, NFL and stuff, they be having like 30 cousins and shit, a lot of them. You know what I mean? And they got a lot of shit to be upholding to, you know what I mean? I got a very small family. And, like, I'm on somewhat of an island in that regard. I don't really have that much that I have to take care of. I've experienced, on a personal level, pretty much everything a person can experience besides child rearing and death. That's it. You know what I mean? Child rearing is a big one, you know, obviously, but I got some credits in helping some children grow and through coaching, and I'll see how it goes with my niece when she gets older. If I can help get some credits in that experience, you know what I mean? But on a personal level, man, I've seen every continent. I lived in what, like five continents. I ain't been in Antarctica or whatever, but I've lived in Africa, Europe, Latin America, spent significant time in Australia, and I've been around, man. I've seen most of the world. You know what I mean? To where I'm kind of, if I never travel again, it's not that big of a deal. But if the opportunity is there and it's a good one and it works out, I would do it still, you know. I'm not really like eager to do it. I remember at one time I was like, I need to do this shit. I remember at one time I had seen the whole country and this dude was trying to play me like, yeah, you ain't never been out the country like that though. And I was like, damn. And I took that shit to heart and I went everywhere. You know what I mean? I've been... You know, I've been around the world over so many times at this point and done so much shit. And I've seen money. I've seen death. Yeah, I've seen a lot of shit, man. I've seen a lot of shit. And I made a lot of music. I made a lot of drawings. You know, I built a house at this point. I go down a list of fucking things to check off, you know what I mean? The to-do list never ends, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about doing, not doing. You know what I mean? Way and shit. So, at this point, just trying to do more with less. You know, because I don't think I'm being challenged like other people are being challenged, you know? They have their own challenges relative to what their gifts are. And I think it is what it is, you know, like I can't really look too far past my nose. Everything clicks up the way it's supposed to, and I just know when I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, you know what I mean? And it just becomes more obvious. My sister asked me, she said I used to be a more angry person. And I was just like, I just don't have energy to be like that. I deal with anger sometimes, but the energy, you know, it's just like wanting to go to Hawaii or some shit. You know, you don't have the plane ticket. You know, you can't go there. Like, I don't have the energy for anger anymore. I have to use it for other things. So it's like, as much as I want to go to Hawaii, I can't do that shit right now. Can't go to Anger Town right now. You know what I mean? There's certain things not there. You know, I can't try to even give a fuck about certain shit. So I'd be just more so like intrigued to see like what I care about from day to day. Like, what do I really... What's today's focus and where am I supposed to be with it? That's how it be, yeah, man. You know how it be. You got 30 cousins. You trying to get on, trying to get to the league. You trying to pay for everybody. You know what I mean? All get them all little LLCs and Jordans and shit. You know, I think that's. I never been there. I got like me, my sister, my brother, my mom, my dad, and then my closest cousin is dead. You know, my other cousins, they don't. You know what I mean? We have a closeness because we're family, but I would help them if I could. You know, like on those levels, but. I think, you know, my experience has helped people in my family, you know, especially at this point as things have come out since Sebi and Nipsey and all of that type of stuff has become mainstream. You know, at first they was like looking at me with three heads and stuff. But now I think that my relationship with my family is probably the best it could be. You know, the family that I knew growing up, I don't know my dad's family. Yeah. The old boy. Lao Tse. Yeah, I don't think I can really remote view like somebody else because there's a lot of soulless motherfuckers on my dad's side. As soon as I leave my body, they're probably trying to take over. So I think it's a security issue that I gotta just more so go in. I can't be just dilly-dallying around because got some vampires that's just like, I can't wait to get the keys. But my phone about to die. So patreon.com/Taylor Durden.